What's up, everybody? It's Connor and Joshua with Chamber One Tactical. Today, we're taking a little break from the tactical world and kind of bringing it back to our roots, what we grew up on, which is lever actions. So today, we're going to be reviewing the Henry H012, which is a 38 357 big boy, and this one, which is the Rossi Model 92, which is a 357 38 special lever action. So we kind of have a budget side of it and a more moderate to high end lever action. So let's get into it. This is so much better. All right, so starting off, we're going to start with the Henry. This gun is, like we said, a little bit more on the higher end, not necessarily your top end, but kind of your moderate value. This gun did come in, I believe it was right at $10.99. This one is the all-weather, so it has a matte, stainless steel type finish on it, which is, I think it's a very aesthetically pleasing gun. It's very, very cool. We do have a Holosun HS510C on here, which made it a little bit quicker for shooting. Yes. So it's very, very fun to be able to throw a red dot on a gun and like this and run with it. So this is definitely more of the tactical side of the lever actions, especially with the options that you have. Now, you do have options with the Rossi through Ranger Point Precision and some other, but I know Midwest Industries makes some rails and, some levers and everything, and Ranger Point Precision makes some, and we actually have my 3030 Henry has the Ranger Point Precision rail on it, which I love. I'm going to end up putting, I want to do the whole kit on this gun, just kind of make it as tactical as we can get it. But very impressed with this gun. I think it performs as everyone would expect a Henry to perform. I've never had any issues with any of my Henrys. We've got even some of the Golden Boy and Silver Boy, the 22s that they have. Just love the little things. They run very well. Like I said, you expect this to run for the money. You do have a good bit of money in this gun, so you would hope that it didn't have any feeding issues or accuracy issues, and we definitely have not had any issues with it. I will say that one of my favorite things about the features of this gun is that it's got the side gate loader and your tube load. So with a gun as pretty as this, you may not want to scratch up your loading gate, which we do use the loading gate. But for my wife, this is actually her hunting gun for deer hunting. So she doesn't like to use this loading gate. It's a little stiff for her. So she just loads it through the tube. So it's much easier. It's nice to have both. Which the Rossi does not have both. Right. So that is one thing that's a little different. But, just saying again, the quality, the smoothness of this action. I mean, you just can't. It's so smooth, in my opinion, compared to the Rossi, and I think that helps with follow-up shots. Not that anybody's going to be running and gunning with a lever action. We were trying to push ourselves a little bit during the shooting, trying to see how fast we could shoot with them accurately, and I think we can be a little quicker with this gun than the Rossi. Yeah. But if you want to give some information on that one.
Yeah, so this one right here is the Rossi 92. So as Connor was saying, some of the features that you have on the Henry is mainly because it was designed after a different type of model, more like the Marlin, where it actually ejects out the side, and of course it's got both the tube load and the side load.
So, which is somewhat new for Henry.
Yeah, and this one is, more of a different design. So as you, use the lever, it's actually going to shoot out the top, which sometimes you might have a shell come back and hit you in the head, but it's to be expected. Now, this one, I did actually have to put a rail on it. It didn't come like that. I think it was about $20, if I'm not mistaken, maybe $40, somewhere in between there. And just because it comes with a little brass BB, and then it comes with some blacked out iron sights that kind of funnel down towards the middle. And sometimes as we were shooting, especially because the way the sun is where we shoot, it was really tough to find that middle bead. And so this, being able to add a little red dot on there really helps out when it comes to shooting these little things.
Yeah.
I will say when it comes to this Rossi, it's not near as smooth as that Henry. And you notice that because this one costs about $600.
Yeah.
So give or take about $400 is the savings that you're going to have for this kind of rifle. And it does have some pros for this model specifically. It's a little bit lighter than the Henry.
It's a good bit lighter. Yeah.
This one's very lightweight. It's short. I believe this one's a 16-inch barrel. How long is that one?
I think this one's a 20-inch barrel.
Yep. So this one's real nice. It's something that you don't really have to worry about. But when we started to shoot it a little bit fast and try to move that lever quick, sometimes you would have that it didn't actually load the bullet in.
Yep.
So you'd have to do it again real quick.
Yep.
And all of the shooting that we did in the video was 38 special, not 357. That's typically what we actually shoot.
It was 38 special plus P.
Yes.
Yep.
Now it does say on the barrel, that it'll take both, but that's typically the ammunition that we had malfunctions with. But it's exactly what you would expect for a $600 rifle. It's nothing crazy. Obviously, the Henry is a lot smoother and a lot better. But I'm looking forward. I'm wanting to actually make this one a little bit more tactical as well. We actually have someone local that does a lot of custom lever jobs and makes them really smooth, even for these Rossis. Yeah, and I have some future plans with this, but I think it's a good template to build off of.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, some of this is going to come down to personal preference on what your goal for the gun is.
Right.
This is not a run around, truck gun, or it's very big, and like you said, it's a good bit more heavy than the Rossi.
Yeah, it is.
So if your goal is lightweight and maneuverable, and that's something that we actually talked about, is moving from target to target. You're swinging this big old gun around, where that one, it's much closer to your chest, so it's very easy to pivot with that gun and get it on a target a lot faster. Now, like you said, the actual racking of the gun or throwing that lever, I wanted to point out, I think the only time we had that issue where it wasn't loading one was when we were running it faster. I don't think when we had that, we didn't have that issue when you're just normal shooting, but it still matters, right? I mean, it still didn't load one, and it happened a few times, I think. And we didn't have that issue with this one, which is nice to see that a more expensive gun is running a little bit better.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think that, when it comes down to it, this is just my personal opinion. Now you can get some Henrys that are shorter. I think the carbine length is 16 inches. So you can go and find something like that. But this gun for the money is really, really good. It shoots great. The trigger is good for the money. And to be, when he was talking about the sights on both of them we weren't a fan of.
Right.
Because it's the same style sights. And that's why I ended up, and to point out too, when he was saying he bought a rail, I also had to buy a rail. This gun did not come with it. It did not come with it. And the Henry rail was like $45 to $50. So you are spending more again on the rail. But I wouldn't really want this gun without it. Now on my 30-30, it's a deer hunting rifle, so I don't put a red dot on there. I just use the sights the way they are. I don't have an issue with shooting something just one time.
But if you want to go do it fast,
then you want a red dot,
especially that Holosun. Yeah, is I put a cheap just a V Life on here. Just a little Amazon optic, which I mean it's holding up fine, especially for lever action. Yeah. But that Holosun makes it nice.
Yeah. So I mean, if you were going out, if you were going to tell somebody, I know we talked about that they're different. These are going to have different applications.
Yeah.
But if you were going to go out and you were going to recommend one, if somebody's looking for one lever action in this caliber, what are you going to recommend between the two?
So this might surprise you, but I would, even though I'm the one that purchased this one, I would actually go with the Henry.
Okay.
Now, I know it's a little bit more expensive, but that's taking the gun as is. I'm going to be happier with the Henry longer.
Yeah.
Now, I plan on sending this to get some work done to it, changing it up a little bit. So maybe we could do a future video on if my opinion changes.
Yeah.
On whether I go with this. Maybe if I spent the difference of how much it costs to get that and put that money into this to see if it can be as good.
Right.
But as is, I would say it would be worth it to me to have that lever action just because the overall experience of shooting it was a lot better. It was smoother. You could shoot faster with it. The wood is a lot nicer, which isn't a big deal to me, but just overall, I like that one a lot better.
Yeah, I would agree. It was funny because we actually talked to a buddy of ours that knows one of his friends that has a Rossi, and he sent his to have some lever work done so that all they're doing is going in there and smoothing up the action. And he said once he got that gun smoothed out and everything, when he got it back, it was actually smoother than the Henrys and Marlins that he had. Now, I'm not saying that's every single time with a Rossi, but if that's true, and that's kind of what when we want to do the comparison, because obviously people send their Henrys and their Marlins off as well, and they can get the actions really smooth. But if you can, like you said, put your money into upgrades like metal rails and the different stock and stuff like that, and this one's just going to stay the way it is for a while until you can recoup some money to build it, then that may be the option for you. But
what would you go with? What would you recommend?
I would still go with the Henry.
Okay.
I think track record is part of it. I like that Henry they've always done a really good job with their stuff. I haven't personally heard of any Henrys not being quality. Now, some of you guys may have heard some issues that they've had, but I've never had any issues with the ones that I've owned. I like the accuracy standpoint. I like the triggers in these. I like how smooth the action is. And like you said, I think what you said pretty much hit the nail on the head. It's gonna suffice for a much longer amount of time than the way it sits.
Yes.
So you're gonna be much happier with this gun for a longer period of time. This is something you can pass down to your kids, and it's still special because it's a Henry, or if it was Marlin, it's a Marlin. With Rossi, it's just a Rossi. It's still just a budget lever action. Where these, you actually have something that's a good quality gun that can last you all your life.
Well, and it's just like Marlins, like they're appreciating in value.
Right.
And I could see Henry's doing the same thing.
Yep.
I don't really see that with a Rossi.
Well,
and so you can almost look at it as more of an investment. That's for the guys that have wives. You could explain it as an investment.
Yep.
But that's going to hold its value a little bit more and maybe even grow in value. I just don't see that happening with Rossi.
Well, and the last thing I'll touch on, just the thing that I don't like about the Rossi, other than the malfunctions that we had with it not loading, we really didn't have any issues. The only thing I don't like is the safety. I don't like a lever action to have a safety. Now, everybody's going to complain and say, why? It's just a safety. But that's just, especially how cheaply this one is done, I just am not a fan of it. I would rather them not have it on there. And I understand that companies are having to put stuff like that on there now.
Does that have any safeties on
because of liberals. No.
Oh.
But, this gun has no safety on it externally. I'm sure there's some internal safeties and everything, but this doesn't have any manual safety or anything like that, where that one, it's right there up here. Now, have we ever had it turn on without us manually putting it on?
But it could happen.
But it could, and that's the thing. We don't like the could happens. So, like I said, I would personally go with the Henry, but I agree with Joshua. I'm excited to see what we can get this gun to do and to see maybe if they're going to be pretty much comparable once we get that work done.
Yep.
But that's our review on the Henry versus Rossi video on our 38 Special 357 lever actions. If you guys have any other questions about these guns or any accessories that we have on them, just let us know. If you'd like to see a video on the 3030 and the Ranger Point Precision Rail, let us know. Just make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, like and share, and we'll catch you next time.